How to get funding for your short animated film. In this video, I'm going to break down 4 different ways how you can fund your passion project if you're an animator or an artist who has a full-time job but no money to make what you want to make. So let's dive into it. Hi, I'm Dragana, and I'm an animator and content coach for animators and small teams and studios promoting their short films, indie games, and other passion projects. And I'm going to share with you how I funded my own short film, Leap of Faith, that's coming out soon. So, first, funding was actually from Epic Games. I got the main funding from Epic Mega Grant. I basically applied for it, and after 8 months, I got a reply that I was chosen as one of the applicants. That was the first initial boost for this project. However, I was already in a pretty good rough layout stage when I applied, and I'm going to share my full application process once the film is out so you can see what kind of strategy I took to make my pitch the best it could be and how you can make yours one too. By the way, if you want me to look at your project, you can DM me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to. The second biggest source of funding for me was actually from my own studio, Steamroller Animation. They actually, once they saw that Epic was promoting me, supporting me, they wanted to jump in on that train as well by providing me with resources in terms of artists who would animate and do concept art and after do compositing for the music. Before I actually go on to the third point, I want to stress how important this is because once you have one person or a studio or a grant supporting you or a Kickstarter or audience or a small community supporting you, it's so much easier to get a second one supporting you as well because people want to support or cheer for the winner as well, especially because you prove yourself to be credible to fulfill that project till the end, and other people want to cheer you on. That's where I see a lot of artists and animators make a mistake thinking I only need to get my funding from a one source. But actually, it's likely that it's going to come from many different sources, and you need to strategically categorize it. So it's best if you start small, like if you do maybe a Kickstarter campaign with your audience, small audience. By the way, you can monetize even with 5,000, 10,000 followers. You don't need a gigantic audience if you know what you're doing and if you know how to engage your audience, how to make them cheer for your film and kind of engineer that hype. And once you have that, like a portion of your budget, you can use that as a leverage, as a basically social proof. Hey, there are people who will pay for this, who are going to watch it. Would you support us? And bring that as a proof that you have credibility. You're not just another noob who had an idea. You are a step up above that. So that's always a bonus. I would always offer or ask my own studio, would they be willing to sponsor a passion project of mine? But if your studio says no, if you're not in this super lucky position I was in, then you could always pitch to other studios as well. However, if you don't know them, if you don't have a good relationship with them or really excellent networking skills, then I would, apart from really good idea and really good visuals, I would also bring a part of the money as well. The money you can either put from your own pocket or from a crowdfunding or Patreon or somewhere where you you already gained some amount of money to put that up as a credibility. A potential studio would be much more likely to support you in that way. I know many animators who actually partnered with other studios to promote to actually render and produce their short film, and they are not necessarily working for that studio. So that's another avenue. Third really big source of my funding for my film was of course from my own pocket, and I always put a portion of my salary to hire artists, and that's also a really big boost and a credibility thing you can add to you, because if people can see that you are willing to bet with your own money, not to mention your time, energy, and all of that, into your own short film, why would somebody else support you? So I was always investing for the past 5 years a small portion of my salary into hiring artists, and every mistake I made on that process and in the production, of course, I was covering that with my own costs. Fourth and big one is something I started doing very late at the project, and that was by funding the project with offering the services to animators with the knowledge I gained while working on the project. In my case, that was offering the service of coaching animators how to use social media to promote their passion projects or to find clients. So that was actually the skill I gained while promoting my own short film. And I thought that would be valuable to others, and that turned out to be true. However, your skill could be, maybe I learned how to interview artists, or maybe I learned how to manage a slightly bigger production, or I learned how to negotiate with artists, or I learned how to build a complex pipeline with Unreal Engine. Whatever it is, you learned a skill. Maybe it's a skill of storytelling. You learned something along that journey. You're not the same person who was when the project started versus who are you now. And that transformational change can be packaged in a service that can be beneficial to others. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get rich overnight, but it does mean it will pay for your project. So there you have it. Those are the 4 ways I funded my project. And the really good and beneficial thing about this is throughout the process of my short film, I shared many different things I learned along the way. So I started from sharing my animation tips to then how we designed the character and how we struggle with the rig, all to hiring artists, finding a mentor who would guide me through that process, and all the way to marketing the film and finally publishing it. So there are many different skills and hats you wear while you are like a solo production, and all of that is valuable to someone who is maybe a year behind you or 2 years behind you, and you can help them. So you can monetize that either through Patreon or other platform, doesn't matter, or packaging it into a course. All of that can be super beneficial. So that's kind of it. You can check more about the program Animation for Social Media below if you're interested in that. And if you have any question, you can message me, of course, always on Instagram or LinkedIn. And I'll see you in the next video. Hope this was helpful. Bye.